Ben Bernanke, chairman of the Federal Reserve, was testifying all day in front of Congress. To hear what he had to say, plus dissecting it, we have none other than Fed superstar, watcher, John Hilsenrath in Washington, D.C. I should add that he's also a Giants fan, but I won't hold that against him.
Hey, Evan, I don't know why we're even talking about the Fed today when the Super Bowl is, what, 3 days away?
That's true.
You know,
you
should be talking to our Giants reporter and not to the Fed reporter. That's what everyone cares about.
Now, we're going to get to that in a little while. Let's focus on Bernnanke and his testimony before Congress today. He basically told the Congress today that don't worry, he has everything under control, even though nothing's going all that well. Did I get that right?
Something like that. You know, what we have right now is an annual rate, basically. You know, every January, February, the Fed tries something new to get the economy going. A year ago, it was QE2. And then Bernanke goes up to Capitol Hill, and he gets grilled by Republicans who think he's messing things up and going to cause an outbreak of inflation or some new financial bubble. And, you know, I think it's a great thing. Because, you know, back in the day, it used to be that nobody questioned what the Fed did. Nobody questioned what Alan Greenspan did. And everybody at the Fed got complacent, and then we got a bubble out of it. The fact that Bernanke has to go up to Capitol Hill and answer hard questions about his policies is probably in everybody's interest,
right.
Regardless of who you think is right or wrong.
Hang on one second, John. We're going to hear a little bit of what Bernanke had to say earlier today.
Okay.
Uncertain job prospects, along with tight mortgage credit conditions, continue to hold back the demand for housing. Although low interest rates on conventional mortgages and the drop in home prices in recent years have greatly improved the affordability of housing, both residential sales and construction remain depressed.
This is this is something we've heard time and time again. It's
Evan, that was such a boring soundbite.
Come on, I didn't pick it out. Blame it on JR.
It's the producers. There were real fireworks today. You had Representative Paul Ryan, who's this up-and-coming star in the Republican Party, saying you're getting soft on inflation to the Fed chairman, and the Bernanke going back and forth with him on that.
Doesn't Paul Ryan have a point, though? At the press conference, which you attended as the representative of the Wall Street Journal, he basically said, you know what, we have a dual mandate, maximum unemployment and inflation, and they are co-equal. And he basically said, you know what, if inflation runs a little hot, so be it. I mean, he said that. I heard what he had to say. That's what Paul Ryan is basically accusing him of, isn't it?
Yeah, he's calling him on it. You know, Bernnanke would defend himself with a little bit more nuance. He would say our goal is 2% inflation in the medium run. So in other words, we always want 2% inflation. If it runs a little bit above that during a time of high unemployment, well, maybe we're not going to be very aggressive about bringing it down. That's what's got Paul Ryan upset. You know, right now this point is kind of moot because we don't have a lot of inflation. But it could be a problem at some point in the future. And like I say, it's a good thing that he's being forced to answer hard questions about it.
But the reality is, and I think even Ben Bernanke in a private moment, which I'm hoping that you occasionally have with him, in a private moment, he would say, look, I sounded super dovish at that press conference. I mean, he did, didn't he?
Oh, yeah, he did. Absolutely. Certainly more dovish than he or the Fed had sounded a few months ago. Which in itself is kind of puzzling because the forecast, well, their longer run forecast has deteriorated a little bit, but the data's gotten better. Look, today, jobless claims data come out. They've been running under 400,000 for a couple of months now. You know, it looks like the economy is on a more solid track, and yet the Fed is saying we're going to hold off on raising interest rates even longer than we'd said before. There's a certain incoherence about this that I think they deserve to be challenged on.
Now, speaking of incoherence, please describe for me the justification in Ben Bernanke's mind for a 10-year bond in an economy that's growing, probably north of 2%, of a 1.8% 10-year yield on the Treasury. Is he comfortable with that? Is he happy?
So what you're suggesting, Evan, is that we do need more inflation because if you wanted to get the 10-year note yield higher, you would need to get more inflation or more concern about inflation to move it higher. I think in his mind and in the Fed's mind, that's one of the reasons why they can afford to have easy policy right now, because the bond market, the deep, liquid, massive American bond market is saying, we don't care about inflation. We don't think it's a problem. We have a lot of other issues on our mind.
I think they're really saying, you know, at some point you'll buy back all our bonds, so that's why we don't care. But last question for you, John.
But wait, Evan, there's an incoherence
goodness.
in what you just said, because a lot of people go out there saying QE2 has no impact. These QE policies have no impact. If they have no impact, then they're not driving bond yields lower. So choose a side of the argument.
You're being very mean to me today, John. And you're being mean to me because you know I'm a Patriots fan and you're a Giants fan. And come Sunday, I'm going to let the players do the talking instead of me. We got to go. I got another Giants fan coming up just after you. I got to deal with
one other thing about this this IPO coming up. You let up with it. Seriously, I want to talk about this. I think this could be a turning point in our recovery. People start taking their minds off of all the bad news and say, hey, you know, we're seeing, you know, multi-billion-dollar IPOs coming out again. I think it could be a game-changing subject for the markets.
Boy, I think that's music to my ears, John, but I'm not sure.